With the Super Bowl only a week away, who will come out on top of the gridiron gauntlet? Who showed their skill during the Pro Bowl and during the skills competition in Orlando? How will Texas Tech finish their season, and can they make it to the big dance? And with the devastating loss of NBA legend Kobe Bryant, how does the world say farewell to a legend and a legacy? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now. Hey there, sports fans, and welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I'm Austin Seat.
And I'm Ryan Heller. Now, before we begin this show, I feel we should start the show off with a moment of silence to honor the passing of NBA legend and icon Kobe Bryant, along with his daughter, Gianna.
Agreed.
Okay. Now, as we just mentioned, early Sunday morning, NBA legend Kobe Bryant and his oldest daughter, Gianna, died in a helicopter crash along with several others. Kobe and his daughters were on their way to a basketball game when the crash occurred just outside of Calabasas, California. Later that day, programs and the leagues honored Kobe and his daughter along with people all over social media. Even performers paid tribute to him at the Grammys with some of their performances. Kobe was just 41 years old while his daughter Gianna was only 13 years old. Austin, what's your thoughts on this?
I think I can say for a lot of people that there's no words to express the loss that not only the NBA feels, but people all over the world, because Kobe was just an icon to not only the sport of basketball, but also to sports all over the world. He was a huge soccer fan. Neymar made a penalty kick yesterday and gave up 2-4 to symbolize Kobe Bryant. Many teams played yesterday, and I don't know how they could.
In the Pro Bowl, when the NFC got a sack, they did like some Kobe celebrations as well.
When they asked for a moment of silence, the crowd couldn't hold themselves, and they just were chanting Kobe, Kobe. So I mean, it is a loss, and especially, like, I don't know where you were when you heard the news, but I was watching the Pro Bowl, and I saw the news flash come up, and then I was shocked. I thought this was a dream, a prank or something. But the later on in the day it got, the more you realize that it's a sad day indeed. Especially when his daughter was in the plane with him, a helicopter with him. I'm sorry.
Something happened with me. I was FaceTiming a friend of mine who was in Kansas City. We were talking about the Chiefs and the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden I get a notification saying that breaking news, he died in a helicopter crash, and I thought it was just like a prank like they did with Morgan Freeman and with Clint Eastwood. I thought it was just one of those pranks, and then you keep seeing the news over and over, memes on Instagram, you see it talking about on SportsCenter, you think, okay, maybe it's not a joke, maybe it's actually happened. And actually, I got a text from my dad actually sending me the video of the actual crash. Someone got it on video, and it's hard to watch. It really is. I remember my first time I ever watched Kobe Bryant play. I had seen highlights of him back in 2006 when he had the 81-point game. But my first ever time actually watching him play, I would have to say, was 2008, the year the Rockets had that 22-game win streak, and they were going to play the Lakers in the second round of the playoffs. And I was thinking, okay, so let's see how good this guy really is. And the guy was just an absolute monster. Yeah. He's the main reason why they won Game 7 of that game, and then went on to win the championship, where he won the MVP that year too. But what I think about it is Kobe Bryant he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He probably still will be, even though. I mean, the guy was a 2-time gold medalist, 18-time All-Star, 5-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP. I mean, on the court, I don't think there was much that he could have achieved except maybe winning a national championship in college, but he never did that. Well,
he never went to college.
So that's probably the only thing that he wasn't able to accomplish. But I mean, I remember hearing on SportsCenter people saying that when Bryant got drafted, he was saying he was going to be the next Michael Jordan. And when you hear someone, especially someone get drafted out of high school, say that, you're thinking they're nuts.
At the age of 17,
you're thinking they're nuts. And because when Michael Jordan got drafted, all he said was, "I'm just going to try not to do anything out of the ordinary," which he did. He did stuff way out of the ordinary. But you know, when someone who gets drafted out of high school says a statement like that, and then has the 20-year career that he had,
With one team.
With one team, and you don't really see that a lot. Not even Hakeem Olajuwon did that. I mean, like you look at Allen Iverson, Dirk Nowitzki, not even the great Michael Jordan spent his whole career with the Bulls. So that's really an accomplishment right there. But he's leaving, the footprint that he leaves behind is one that will be remembered forever. And I feel most worse about his daughter. She was just only 13 years old. She really hadn't even lived yet. And that's what's
and she wanted to carry. She really wanted to carry that torch that Kobe had set. And like you could hear him in interviews. People would ask him, y'all got to have a boy. Y'all got to like carry on that Kobe tradition, that Mamba mentality. And she'd go, "Oi, I got this." Like
because those people
and not only
who
that,
criticize forget they're still the WNBA.
Kobe was a huge advocate for that. And
yeah.
And you see people all over the league, Shaq, LeBron, everybody. It's a sad tragedy, and I'd love to talk about this with you for the entire show, brother. But we have some other stuff to go over here, so I say we move on, and we wish his family all the best.
We do, and also prayers for the rest of the NBA. Who let us know in the comment section how you feel about Kobe passing, maybe some memories of your first time seeing him.
Agreed. Well, after a close game against the Kentucky Wildcats, the Red Raiders lost the game in overtime 76-74. With that loss, the Red Raiders fall to 12-5 and are currently 6th in the Big 12. With the Big Dance only a few months away, what will Tech have to do to qualify for the Big Dance? Ryan, what's your take?
Well, first off, they're going to have to beat West Virginia and Kansas, and then beat Baylor, and then beat Kansas in the finale. Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, Texas Tech's doing a great job, but here's where the committee, the fact that they went to the national championship game and came close to beating Virginia, that story will only take them so far, considering the fact that even though they're 12-5, they have not managed, other than Louisville, they have not managed to beat a single ranked team. You look at, they lost to the Baylor. They couldn't pull together against Baylor. They couldn't pull together against West Virginia.
But you also have the argument that, yeah, they couldn't pull it out against them, but they were within single digits against Baylor, within single digits against Kentucky, which was obviously a big game.
It was.
You've got, depending on how West Virginia and Kansas go, because you do play Baylor again at the second to the last game of the season.
Now that's going to be a Waco though, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah. And not to mention, Tech still has a shot. They can obviously pull for a guarantee in the Big 12 tournament. So,
I think they can.
So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But I mean, I think if the season ended right now, I think Tech has a shot to.
I think they would.
They've got a pretty good resume to get.
They do, but I think that big issue is, especially when you look at games like TCU, especially West Virginia, they just look so sloppy. Yeah. Consistently. I watched the game full out, and every single time they had a chance at a transition break, they looked like they didn't know what they were doing. They looked like clueless children out there. So,
well, especially like now in the Kentucky game, I don't know if you went to the game.
I did. I didn't get my guaranteed seat because I never got the email. Thanks a lot, guys. But I was able to get my white wristband. I was able to get into close enough. I was right behind the student section.
Okay, so I did get my guaranteed ticket, and I was able to watch that game from a decent spot. And from what I saw, they made mistakes that they shouldn't be making against ranked teams, and that's probably you could argue that's what cost them some of the games. But
a lot of those was the transition problems. I feel like that they need to get that worked out. Because a lot of times when they go on transition, they don't look like they have a clue what they're doing.
They're going too slow, or they're just
or too fast, or they make the wrong pass for an open three or something like that.
They get multiple turnover in possessions, and that they should capitalize on those by scoring points, but instead they just give it right back to the other team. So it's different. Yeah. If the season ended right now, I'd say Tech has a shot. At the end of the year, we still got a lot of basketball to go left, don't get me wrong, but I will say it's going to be very, very difficult to see where Tech's lands. Right now, I saw a preview or let's just say a wild prediction of brackets, and it said we were going to be in the Los Angeles area, the West League, I think, and we were going to be an 8th seed. I don't think that's possible, but could be wrong.
Now, one way for Tech to redeem themselves and to prove them wrong is their next two games, West Virginia and then Kansas.
At Kansas.
At Kansas. And I think if they can at least pull one of those off, I think they have a chance to prove those doubters wrong. But the last thing they need to do is come up empty-handed on those 2 games.
I
That's the last
agree,
thing.
and so it's going to be interesting how Tech handles these situations.
But we look forward to seeing it. We will pull them. We will pull for them no matter what.
As
that's our
always.
school. Now, yesterday, the NFL's biggest stars got together for a week of competitions, games, and fun. The AFC took the win in both the skill competitions and won the big game in Orlando against their rival, the NFC. Even during all the emotions of the players and fans, still had a memorable game to play and watch. So, Austin, I ask you this. What do you think of this year's Pro Bowl along with the rule changes that they implemented compared to last year?
I think this year's Pro Bowl was very fun to watch. I watched a lot of the skills competition. I love watching the dodgeball out of that.
That was fun.
I really wish they did. I really wish they bring the dodgeball a true underdog story commentators to commentate that game, because oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. But moving on to the actual game itself, I thought the game was very interesting. I mean, for a Pro Bowl anyway. I mean, there's hardly any tackling.
Well, there hasn't really been a tough competitive Pro Bowl since Sean Taylor knocked out that punter. Ever since then, they've been trying to be gentle with their tackling and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the Pro Bowl. You want the stars to kind of show off their skills, but you also don't want to get anybody hurt real bad. So, I mean, if I'm honestly, you make the Pro Bowl a flag football game, but at this point, that's neither here nor there. But as far as the new rule changes, I'm not, and the biggest one that I'm looking at is they're trying to remove the onside kick, essentially, because as we know this year, 13% of onside kicks, I mean, and they're hardly ever converted. Like
because they've made the rules for the onside kicks so favorable.
No running up.
So favorable to the receiving team. Yeah.
Yeah, no running up. I mean, you can't so there. I think I like the concept. You take a fourth. If you just score a touchdown and a field goal, you get to choose for a 4th and 15. I like that.
I do too.
But where I have a disagreement of it is at the 25 of their own 25-yard line.
I agree too.
Because at that point, you're basically giving the other team a 45-yard field goal, basically.
At the very least.
At the very least. So I think if you move that to, say, the 50 or
kind of like where they usually do the onside kick, I would say maybe.
Yeah, like own 45 or even at the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Then I'd agree with you there. Then I'd agree with the rule, but I'm not a big fan of it at the way they have it written now. But
now, see, to me, how I thought about the Pro Bowl was because after last year, when you see running backs play defensive end, and all that stuff, I was thinking the Pro Bowl is an absolute joke now. They need to remove it, just do away with it because it's an absolute joke. So I was honestly, I was skeptical to watch it this year, and then I happened to turn the TV on because I saw Deshaun Watson was taking the field at the time, so I figured I'm going to give it a shot, and it turns out it was actually doing a pretty good job. They were doing a pretty good job of the Pro Bowl. They were being competitive. Mm-hmm. Now they weren't tackling, but they were wrapping around. They were at least trying to cover the receivers.
At least make it look like a legit game.
Exactly. They were at least trying to block defenders, trying to get past the blockers. Saw some sacks, some forced fumbles. That's what I liked. Mm-hmm. There was none of that last year, so I liked that this year. And I do agree with you with the rule because I believe the AAF, before they suddenly folded, was trying that as well, except with them it was a 4th and 12. But I like that idea because they made the rules so favorable to the receiving team.
Yeah.
Might as well. You give them a 4th and very long, and if they make it, they keep the ball. If they don't, they don't. I like that. I really do. Now, I think they either make it that or they revert back to their old onside kick rules because, like you said, 13%.
It's not very enjoyable to watch.
Exactly. It's just not fun to watch. So I think that was good. I think the Pro Bowl, if they can keep it up the way that it did this year, I think then they don't need to do away with it. I think.
And my last big thing for this is when it came to the onside kicks, the only team I ever saw create convert an onside kick, the kicking team, was the Atlanta Falcons against the Saints, and they got 3.
Exactly, and one of them didn't even count.
Yeah, I know. So, but anyway, let's move on from there.
Yes.
Well, with the big game only a week away, both teams are preparing for a dogfight. In the AFC, you have the Chiefs' high-powered offense and leader Pat Mahomes, while over in the NFC, you have an outstanding defense with Nick Bosa leading the 49ers. With these two teams going to Miami, the Super Bowl is looking like it's going to be a good one. So, Ryan, what's your take on this year's Super Bowl?
This is going to me. I know the Ravens were the 1 seed, but these are the 2 most complete teams in the NFL, if you ask me. Both teams have 4,000-yard passers. Jimmy G is playing great. He's showing the Patriots, hey, you should have kept me as a Tom Brady retirement plan, but now you don't have me anymore. And Pat Mahomes is just playing like Pat Mahomes. He's playing like the MVP that he was last year with over 4,600 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, which is, to me, unheard of. And also a surprisingly tight end matchup because obviously everyone in the NFL world knows how talented Travis Kelce is, and he's the most complete tight end in football.
But you have Kittle.
George Kittle, in my opinion, is the most underlooked and underrated tight end in the NFL because, yes, Travis Kelce's got 110 catches, 1,300 yards, but George Kittle is not that far behind, 89 catches for 1,088 yards. So he's not that far behind. He's a very good tight end. Mostert's running for 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns.
San Francisco 49ers acquiring Emmanuel Sanders in the during the trade season.
Exactly. And
so I agree with you. I think that these are probably the 2 most complete teams in the NFL, despite the Chiefs being the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, and when I gave the question out, don't get me like the Chiefs have a good defense. They got a pretty decent defense. But, I mean, you have...
The defense is better than theirs last year.
We agree on that. But as far as, like, you have the 49ers, you have Nick Bosa, you've got Richard Sherman, you've got a bunch of those guys returning. So it's a complete on defense. And then on the offensive side, you have George Kittle, who is underrated, who I agree with you is the most underrated tight end this season. You've got Emmanuel Sanders that they acquired in the trade. Jimmy G's looking outstanding, has been outstanding all year.
Deebo Samuel's shown to be a pretty good receiver.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you have this 49. They're both acquiring 28, 29 points a game. They both have roughly about 380 yards per game. They allow the opponents 19 points a game, and then, but here's where it differs is because in the Chiefs you have Pat Mahomes, who is looking to become the first person to win not only the MVP but also the Super Bowl before the age of 25.
Which is,
excuse me. And then on the other side, the last Super Bowl appearance for the 49ers was in Super Bowl 47 against the Ravens back in 2012. So,
whereas the Chiefs, not since 1970.
Yeah,
so that's big.
Well, not since Super Bowl, what was it?
4.
Super
back
Bowl
in the days
4.
of Len Dawson.
Yeah.
That takes you back.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting Super Bowl to watch, and I think it got hit hard after when like the Kobe. We saw Pat Mahomes tweet out, and we saw a bunch of other people tweet out. So it's hard for everyone. So, but it's going to be an interesting game. So
it will be for sure.
And remember, people, after that we have the new XFL coming out. So that is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
You're kind of thinking it's going to be the AFL, where it's.
I'm kind of thinking the XFL will probably fold like it did the last time because they still try to compete with the NFL.
Well, I will say this before we continue on to who you got. I heard that the people running this are a lot more business orientated and will treat it more like a business than kind of like how the NFL does, rather than like when the last 2 AFLs and the last XFL were around. So, well, now it's time for who you got. To start off, we have the Dallas Mavericks, versus the Oklahoma City Thunder later today. Ryan, who do you got? And remember, we're doing a clean slate this semester.
Clean slate.
So we're both at 0-0 in our records.
That's right. Now let's see. I think I got to go with the Thunder on this one.
Okay.
Even though he's not with the Rockets, I still like CP3. Plus, also he's playing like the old CP3.
Yeah.
He's averaging 6.4 assists a game. He's scoring well, and also the Thunder is 5th in field goal percentage as well. And Steven Adams is averaging almost 10 rebounds a game, which means he's tough to block on the board, he's tough to box out, and also they're going to be at home running a 5-game winning streak. I think they can make it 6 straight.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks on this one.
How I never saw that coming.
Oh yeah, hardy har. Well, and the reason I say that is because Luka Doncic is obviously having another big year. He's having a really big year with all the accolades and stuff like that. And I will say this: the Thunder has been giving does give the Mavericks some problems about this time in the season. But I'm going with the Mavericks mainly because when you have Luka Doncic, you have not Steph Curry, but Seth Curry is playing pretty well. You have the Mavericks are playing like a complete team. They're in the playoffs. They're in playoff contention. So I've got the Mavericks on this one.
I will be honest. When I saw that Trae Young and Luka Doncic were going to be swapping teams, I got really
worried.
Because I was like, I would have rather faced Trae Young 4 times a year, because as a Red Raider we saw how not as good he is compared to Luka Doncic. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, up next we have. This is going to be tough for Kobe lovers everywhere. The LA Lakers and the LA Clippers. Austin, who you got?
And this is happening tomorrow, so this Tuesday. And when you say Kobe fans, I say this is going to be tough for the city of LA, because you have both teams playing, and after a tragic loss to that city and the LA Lakers organization. So I'm actually shocked they're still scheduled to play.
Well, I mean, like I think if their game was today, I don't think they would have played.
So
I think if it was today, but since they've gotten now 2 days to grieve, I think that's why.
Yeah, well, it's going to be tough for both cities and both teams, for the city and both teams. Sorry,
because they share the same arena.
Yeah, but I'm going to go with the LA Lakers on this one.
I get that.
So I'm going to go with the LA Lakers. I think they're going to win this one for Kobe.
Well, I would have picked the Lakers, but so far the Clippers have now failed me on this section, so I'm going to continue going with the Clippers. Plus also
don't break what isn't broken.
That is correct, and I'm sorry, but. Plus, also, it's not just Kawhi. Not only is Kawhi leading the team in all scoring, rebounds, and steals, with 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2 steals a game. They're 4th in scoring, 2nd in rebounding with over 48 rebounds a game. Mm-hmm. What I like is their role players. Montrezl Harrell is showing that he's creating his own identity. Lou Williams is showing he's more than just a 6th man. And by the way, I don't care that he's with the Clippers now. You cannot find a bigger fan of Patrick Beverley than me. That dude is a dog. He is a pit bull. Not the rapper, the actual dog.
You're only saying that because he left. He left. You're only saying that because he sucked at Houston, and now
No, you kidding me? He was our best defender as a Rocket, and he still is with the Clippers. And I think it's going to be a workhorse, and I will admit it is weird rooting for Russ against Pat Beverley now that they're reversed. It does feel weird.
Yeah. Well, up next on Wednesday, we have Texas Tech versus West Virginia. Ryan, who do you have?
Oh, this is a tough choice. I guess I have to go with Texas Tech, I guess.
Your sarcasm is really at an all-time high today. Like, really at an all-time high. Of course we're going with Tech.
Of course. Of course, we don't go to West Virginia. We go to Texas Tech.
No, we'll leave West Virginia over with Pat McAfee and them.
Of course, Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
No, of course
it's gonna be a good one to see how the Tech students do it with Bob.
I
was there last year and it was awesome.
Oh, dude, I hope Texas Tech. If I know Chris Beard, like I think I do, he is going to get them ready, because I can't remember the last time that he lost 2 home games in a row. So if I know Chris Beard like I think I do, he's going to make sure that does not happen.
I agree. I'm also going with Texas Tech on this one. So, but I hope we don't lose it well. And if we win, we're giving the West Virginia a new one.
And I will be there to watch.
Yeah, we got to get Chris Beard on this show.
We do. Chris Beard, if you watch this, please join us instead of fireside chat. Even though
we do both. We'll do both.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right.
Now, to finish it off, we have the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the San Francisco 49ers. Austin, I'm no psychic, but I think I know the answer. Austin, who you got?
Should we do it together?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
The Chiefs.
I mean, is it odd? I mean, come on. We're rooting for Lubbock hero Pat Mahomes. How can you not go against the Chiefs? Now, beat it. The San Francisco 49ers, they do have a talented roster. They do got some big names, and Nick and Bosa, Richard Sherman, Garoppolo's playing well. You've got George Kittle, Emmanuel Sanders. They've got a talented roster, but you also have the flip side where you've got Pat Mahomes. You've got Tyreek Hill healthy.
Yeah.
You've got
and you got the return man,
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce.
The return man, and then their
That dude is
big
dangerous.
safety, the two safeties that came out that played
right.
fantastic in that AFC Championship game.
Sorensen is a very underrated tight end, an undrafted guy from Brigham Young. He's actually
Along with Tyrann Mathieu.
along with Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, who's living up to his
He's
name.
he's reliving up to that name.
He's living up to his name. I mean, he had a little bit of a slump in his final year with the Cardinals, but in his year with the Texans and with the Chiefs, he's starting to show.
Excuse me.
He's starting to show who he was before his final year with the Cardinals. But yes, we got to go with Mahomes. Can you imagine if I read this correct? He is the first quarterback to start a Super Bowl from a Texas school, if I'm not mistaken. If I read that right. So we will be pulling for Mahomes.
We may have to check that on our next show.
We will check that.
We may have to check that on our next show.
But if I read that correctly, don't quote me on it yet. Wait till next week before you quote me on it. But no,
You're going to get ripped in the comments section. I can already see it now.
Well, you know what? That's not the worst thing that's happened to me in my life. So bring it on.
Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big name stories in sports. I'm Austin C.
And I'm Ryan Heller. We will see you next time. That was for Kobe.
Yep. Rest in peace, brother.